Welcome to the Sex, Money, and Real Estate Podcast, the show for real estate couples about how to close more deals in the bedroom. My name is Nancy Jameson.
And I'm Bill Jameson.
And each week we deep dive into juicy, intentional, sexy conversations, sharing with you what it takes to create balance in your intimate relationships and your real estate business. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, baby.
Hey, baby.
What is going on with you today?
I'm ready to rock and roll.
Nice. Let's
ready
go.
To rock and roll. How about you?
The same. Been a beautiful day and a beautiful morning and already a beautiful afternoon. So it's fantastic all the way around.
Absolutely. Awesome.
So guess what?
What?
I'm Bill Jameson.
Oh, okay. I'm Nancy Jameson.
And this is Sex, Money, and the Real Estate Podcast.
Yes, it is.
Sex, Money, and Real Estate. The show that demonstrates the possibility of a massively successful balance in intimate relationships and in their real estate business for all those out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, because besides being together for years and years and years, what we realized as a result of being together for years is that in order for us to have that juicy, intimate relationship that you and I are playing for, like an experiential, amazing, beautiful relationship. I mean, it's extraordinary. And to consistently attain that, we realized that we needed to unearth and develop ourselves and the belief in our worthiness that creates the sustainable joy. In other words, that we are the ones that create the sustainable joy individually, and that love, or our love, is not predicated on you or predicated on me or anybody outside of ourselves, again, i.e. Bill or Nancy, but to foster the belief that we're enough and I'm enough. And because I'm enough, it cultivates that connection and that confidence and the compassion and courage and clarity. And so clarity then cultivates the conviction, and conviction in me, conviction in my worthiness, conviction in business, conviction in my purpose, conviction in being in service. And then as a result of all of that and integrating that code, that creates and translates into the juicy relationship.
Yeah.
So
it certainly does.
Then it flows over into everything else. So that's the jam that we speak of. That's the the stuff that precursor to our coaching program, hence Sex, Money, and Real Estate podcast. So
and all that it really teaches you how to turn breakdowns into breakthroughs.
Yes, absolutely, effectively.
Yes,
and
effectively. And we can work towards effortlessly as well.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It definitely takes reps. So
awesome. So
you're in the right place. Thank you for being here. Yes.
So
back to housekeeping.
Doing a little housekeeping. I want to make sure that you guys please subscribe to the podcast, leave us a 5-star review, and share it with one realtor that needs to hear this podcast. And if it's not this episode, then look for another episode, because I'm sure that we have some content somewhere that somebody can relate to or wants to relate to. So, and if you want to reach out to us directly, you can DM us on Instagram at Sex Money Real Estate, or email us, coincidentally, at sexmoneyrealestate@gmail.com.
Yeah,
all right.
Absolutely. Love to listen to your comments and your topic suggestions and all of those things. So
Totally.
Yeah, definitely.
We love the feedback. We thrive on feedback.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. So magic. We start every show off with magic. And so we define magic as your ability, my ability, your ability to influence self, others, in life.
Your ability.
In an empowering way. Because you can certainly influence self, others, in life in a disempowering way.
Yes.
Wah, wah, wah. And yet we focus on empowering ways.
Yes.
So, my love, how have you influenced self, others, or life in a magical way over the course of the last week?
Well, you know what is really cool is I love getting a different perspective on life.
Okay.
So, roller coasters help with changing that perspective a little bit. And sometimes from time to time, I've been known to do a handstand against the wall to get a different perspective on life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And work on my shoulders and
Flexibility.
Flexibility and my belief that I can stay in that upside down, that
inversion.
The inversion. Thank you. That's the word I was exactly looking for. Stay in the inversion. And so, part of the practice that we go through a couple of times a week is to stay in that inversion up to a minute at a time. And you can stay in that inversion for 3, 4, 5 minutes, forever.
Yeah, my highest is 3 minutes, forever. 3 minutes and 45 seconds.
It's 3 minute and 45-second handstand against the wall. Yeah, cool. My high time has been anywhere between
no hating on Nancy
30 to 40 seconds. And so for years I have been playing for a greater time, doing some shoulder presses and working on flexibility so I can fully extend and lock in and all those great things that come with that practice. And I did a minute today. That's what I'm getting at. I did a whole freaking 60 seconds today, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah, when you shared that with me, I started tearing up. I'm starting to tear up now too, just because that has been the experience is 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, 33 seconds, 42 seconds, 41 seconds, 20 seconds. But to break through 45 to get to a minute is huge.
Yep.
So that's the physical piece. And then the metaphysical piece of that is the surrender associated with trusting your body, that your body can sustain that pressure and hold you, and all of those amazing things that you can trust your reps and trust your body, and trust.
Yes.
Is extraordinary. So I am very, very excited for you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
If you were going to share some magic today.
Well, I am going to share some magic.
What would that
today.
be? You are.
I am.
What you got? I know you got something.
Well, you're going to love this. I didn't know what your magic was today, but you're going to love this. So my magic is all around our game days. So our game day is a 90-day. Every 90 days, we take a physical assessment to where we go in and measure how powerful and strong and our habits have been, and consequently shows up in our body. So it's a physical assessment test that measures the last 90 days of our habits,
right,
inclusive of our body. So we all do those, me, you, Luke, and Rex, every 90 days. And so last week, Luke and Rex and you, I just took mine yesterday. Luke specifically, though, took his game day. And so what I love doing with Luke is participating in the exercises with him. Of course, I do that with you and Rex as well. And the thing that stands out that I wanted to share with you was that the plank hold in the beginner game day, the length of the plank hold is for 6 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, Lucas can crush 4 minutes. I think he did 4 minutes and 40 seconds or 4 minutes and 30 seconds or something like that. And that's amazing. And so, the magic is that I do it with him, and that it's every 90 days, it's my opportunity to max the plank hold. So 6 minutes and 15 seconds. So when I got to 6:15, I was like, I wonder how long I can go. So I did a plank for 7 minutes.
Nice.
It was actually 7:11.
That's a long ass time to be doing a plank.
Yeah. So it was really cool. So I appreciate my personal power, and I appreciate my core and the strength, and, again, trusting my body that all of those reps are, show up at will. And so it's just really beautiful.
Beautiful.
I'm complete.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm snapping.
Nice. Beautiful.
Clap.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
Well, I wanted to, before we get into what we're talking about today, I wanted to say that this conversation is not necessarily for everybody. And if you have some, if you're dialed in and have some little ears around you, you may, just want to preview maybe a little bit of this before you turn it on full tilt in the car or wherever you happen to be in this moment. So just want to throw that out there. It's not necessarily for adults only, but yet if you haven't had these conversations with your kids yet, then you may want to start with a conversation first before heading into this podcast and talking about it. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, appropriateness.
Yeah,
I
appropriateness.
Love that. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Cool. So what are we talking about today? I think we're talking about the evolution of our orgasms. Isn't that right?
Yes, dear.
That's the topic?
Yes, dear.
Cool. I'm in the right place.
You
Rock
are.
on. I got the right page up. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So, the intention of this podcast, the intention of this podcast episode is to ask yourself a question. Really, what does the word orgasm bring up in you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely your journaling topic or your meditation topic for the week. So it's just really to question what was given to you in terms of like, what does orgasm mean? Like, what does it bring up? What emotion? What feeling? Is it fear, shame, guilt, pleasure, joy, happiness, excitement, perversion? Oh my gosh, we don't talk about that. I can't believe they're talking about that. Like, just notice the feelings and the emotions that come up around when we start talking about orgasms.
Right. And then, the other opportunity is to let those feelings come up. Don't push them down, and do the best job you can to not necessarily judge the feelings either. Like, oh, okay, so that it did bring up, excitement in me, or wow, there was some shame in there for me, and let it go.
Yep.
And maybe just take a look at it to see where you are. And when you just address something very plainly like that, some healing around it can just start to happen just by the acknowledgement of it.
Mm-hmm. So absolutely, yes, there's huge acknowledgement in huge healing in the acknowledgement of it. So yes, awesome. So we suggest journaling or again, meditating on the topic for a week or so, just to see what continuously comes up. And you may think about it throughout the week as you're driving or in the shower or the bathroom or any of those great places that, you experience that like psychological dissonance, and allows that energy to get in there. So it is fascinating.
You talk about it. Most adults receive all their information about sex right around those golden years of
the
11
formative years.
The formative years of 11 and 12 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And once, and sometimes it's from other kids or porn or, I don't know, magazines, internet, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely the internet for sure. I don't know if I guess there are some magazines out these days, but that's where we got it from. Magazines,
yeah, absolutely.
Books,
Mine.
Romance novels.
I'm older. Playboy, baby. Come on now.
Penthouse.
Penthouse was like, yes.
The risque of the.
And then, you may feel like you're stretching. There may be a stretch in there where you try to explore some new areas, right? So, like voyeurism or toys. But, it doesn't necessarily stretch your maturity. It just may stretch your playfulness or your curiosity a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
So we're really talking about the maturity of the relationship to the joy and the the abundance that you can have when it comes to the orgasm.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And unless the adult is, moving through conversation or maturing their conversation around sexuality, sensuality, intimacy with oneself, and truly educating themselves and like expanding their context, re-scripting some of those old beliefs and old paradigms from those younger years. Most adults don't actually look at their sexuality or sexual education again, ever. Or, and then it's interesting. And so those patterns take themselves into the relationships. And so when you have a 30 or 40-year-old adult, they're actually operating from the paradigm of 11 or 12.
Yeah. And so,
or 13 or 14,
right.
That young teen.
So think about that for a second. If you're operating, and we're not saying that you operate in all areas of your life from 11 or 12-year-old. If you're in real estate or in mortgages or the CEO of a company, you're going to have some areas in your life where you're very mature.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Where you're operating from your 40-year-old self or your 35-year-old self. But there are going to be opportunities where you are still operating like around your sexual experiences, that you're preteens. And, you think about your preteen self, if something came up that you didn't like or had discomfort around, what did you do with it?
You hid it.
Yeah, you buried it. Yeah, you giggled around it.
And,
all the stuff because you didn't really know how to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, the question is, what does it look like to evolve your belief of an orgasm? Which began as very, primal, and then evolve that into a tool for unlocking your energy, creating sustainability, creating prolonged joy. I mean, all from your orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of crazy, right?
It's well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it crazy. I think it's amazing. I think it's a conversation that is definitely it's time to have the breadth and the full scope of that conversation now, especially in today's day and age where there's so much censorship. I mean, sex is so censored and perverted as it is anyway, and just add all of that society and pressure and oh my gosh. I mean, it just, it's the crazy. What's crazy is the stuff that's, the boys are coming home with and the conversations that we're having and like the misinterpretations and the misunderstandings. And so, to have conversations with them and to give them more education so that they're less confused, is really where it is now. And that's why I feel like the sex conversation it's like time, to have the sex conversation, because the societal guilt and the censorship, it contributes to the separation. It contributes to the shame. It contributes to the guilt. It contributes to all of those things. I mean, we have a hard time advertising on Facebook,
right,
because Facebook censors our Sex, Money, Real Estate podcast as inappropriate.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's not inappropriate. Like they're actually proving the point. Like they're proving the point that they just want to stuff sex to the bottom and not talk about it and keep it hidden and keep it dark. And it's not just Facebook, but it's the people who are, I mean, we're just using Facebook as an example, but it could be any social media, whatever. But they want to keep their advertising dollars up, and the advertisers know that, unless it's like sexy and twisted, that, a mature conversation can't be had because it embarrasses people and they won't look at it anymore. You pervert it and twist it a little bit, those beer posters and that kind of stuff, and sexualize everything in a very raw, primal way, then sure, you'll look at it. But if it's a raw conversation, around maturing the conversation and like, let's, share and create, again, strong, powerful paradigms and beliefs and structures about sex, because we're not taught to explore our bodies
at all,
or, emphasize the importance of pleasure or, any of those things. I mean, that's what we were sharing about before, was that the societal norms about sex and orgasms is very taboo,
So could you imagine like being in a relationship, and I know that you can, can you imagine being in a relationship where one person has the sexual maturity of an 11-year-old and the other one has the sexual maturity of a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old? Just that little gap could create huge waves. But then you get into a relationship with somebody who has, the 11-year-old and a 40-year-old, and they're both 50. Ooh, that could create some pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Which again contributes to that feeling of disconnection.
Yes.
And that's not what this is about.
Yep.
This is about, again, this is evolution of the orgasm. It's the evolution of the maturity of the conversation, So yeah, it's very fascinating. It's very fascinating. Maturing the orgasm, or excuse me, the relationship to the orgasm with each other and like ourselves, I guess first, and then each other. And it's been a really beautiful experience. So, it has moved from, for me, it has moved from really like the physical, like very focused, point of contact from clitoral to, experiencing whole body orgasms, to experiencing, these extraordinary, like just very energetic experiences and visions and, traveling, like just really traveling. So just, and again, it's moved from genitals into so much more than that. And it's really challenging as I sit here, to share this, it's challenging to put words to it
Mhm.
because it is just such a spiritual experience and such an elevated experience, such an experience that's really beyond words. It's really more like colors, or it's more like a feeling, or it's more just like the idea of vibration than it is whole sentences.
Mhm. Right.
You know, and so what I love about the orgasm is that, and the conversation around orgasm is to be able to utilize the energy of it for the purpose of creating.
Yes.
And so we've talked about this many times before on the podcast. And what I can share with you is that with the evolution of it from the actual, you know, just the physical, again, to the spiritual side of things, it encompasses so much. It encompasses the physical, the social, the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional. And it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. And so as a result of being able to tap into that energy, again, for me, I can experience myself in a whole new way, and I can experience you in a whole new way, and our relationship. And then again, it rolls over into business, into the bank account, into
yeah, I mean,
all of those
yeah,
things.
I mean, if you're leaving a sexual encounter and you are vibrating at a different level because of the intentionality you've had about being in that encounter, what you were looking to experience in that encounter, and then leaving there, you know, still turned on, walking around the world still turned on, you know, vibrating at a higher level.
Yeah, pure joy.
Right. At joy, and totally in the center of yourself. You know, that's a whole lot different than, you know, possibly walking out of a unintentional situation. And I guess the phrase that comes to mind is like, you know, after a night in the bar and doing the walk of shame home. that you may not be walking out of that sexual situation vibrating higher than when you went in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, because you know, it's an intentionality versus not having intentionality. You know, the intentionality of being, you know, of being purposeful with who you're with and what you're doing and what you're playing for. You know, playing for greater health and vibrancy and things, as opposed to, you know, I've had too many drinks and I'm horny and all I want to do is get off and get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's a totally different energy. I mean, even just you describing that versus describing the intentionality behind the sustainable joy manifestation and empowerment, like that's all of that was completely energetically different. Like I felt the shift in your conversation just from you talking about it.
Yeah.
So yes, you know, absolutely, 100%. You know, because that vibration creates that tractor field. The higher either vibration creates a tractor field.
Right.
And so wherever you're vibrating, whatever energetic level you're vibrating at, whether it is that shameful space or that joyful, blissful space, that's what you're going to attract.
Yes.
You know, like where you are, like what you focus on expands. So where you are is what you're going to attract. So I would rather be in that space and have, you know, amazing conversations, you know, fantastic relationships, be very connected with myself, and get the listing.
And that's funny.
You know, and get the listing.
Absolutely.
So,
and I know for a fact, indisputable, that because of who you're being and how you feel about yourself and feeling sexy and turned on, that you get more listings than not. Just for that, you don't even have to show them the comps.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
Absolutely.
It is fascinating. Awesome. Okay. So what about you? So I just shared all about me. What about your evolution of your orgasm?
So, you know, and you know, I think like 20s me, let me think about this. So 20s me was definitely all about, you know, getting off and then rolling over and going to sleep. It was like a very, what do we say? Primal, I guess was the word we used earlier. It was very primal. And much of the same things that you play for, I play for as well, because of what I know about the power of sexual energy, you know, and being, you know, in that universal space. So I actually do walk around after my experiences with feeling more abundant and more sure of myself, a different level of maturity. My orgasms have gone from getting off to full body. They last a lot longer now. And again, it's just, it's practice and intention and, and being conscious of it, having conscious conversations around it, not burying it anymore, not hiding it anymore, not perverting it anymore, and it's not to say that, you don't have, fun or twisted or different thoughts. It's just that everything's more intentional. I don't know how else to say it, but everything's more intentional.
How?
Because you can still be playful and fun and do all that kind of stuff.
Yes, very passionate. Absolutely. Yeah. Very loving, very sensual, and just very it brings like this confidence, this self-assuredness to the experience.
Yeah, and more connected to your partner because of all that as well. So, I mean, I definitely feel more connected to you during our experiences just because of, and whether we're being super playful or being mellow or whatever, wherever we're at in that moment, it's just because, but it raises the energy and creates more that, the energetic orbit around both of us because, it's just, we're very intentional about what we're playing for.
Yep. Absolutely. Awesome. Do you want to go over the types of orgasms? Just
put my glasses on for that. Oh, gosh. Hang on. I know what you guys do. Okay, so there are many types of orgasms. In women, of course, there's the vaginal cervical orgasm, which I know are very satisfying. The clitoral, anal.
Yep.
And then there's this thing called wild birth where you're having orgasms while giving birth.
If I knew about that 15 and 14 years ago, I would totally have played for that.
That's funny. And yes, you would have.
And awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally would have played for that. I missed out. No, I didn't.
No, everything worked out just the way it's supposed
our
to.
birthing experiences were awesome.
And then for men, I mean, there are different kinds of orgasms for sure. And you can,
It's not all about the penis.
Not all about the penis. I mean, the prostate gets involved. I think one of the things that really comes up is if it is about the penis that, you don't have to ejaculate.
Oh yeah. Semen retention, practicing semen retention and cultivating that energy up. And
yep. And then, if you really get into your practice, you can start to climax without coming. I mean, could you imagine without ejaculating?
Of course.
So and which would allow you to actually have multiple orgasms.
Yes. Yep. That is the space that I hold.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's some pro level stuff there for sure.
Yeah.
And then, then there's erogenous zones, right? Studies have proven that non-sexual parts of the body like ears, elbows, knees, thighs, you have nipples in here, or we have nipples in here. Is that not non-sexual? Nipples are sexual for me.
Okay. Nipples are sexual.
So ears, elbows, knees, and thighs can create pleasurable reactions, right?
Yes.
Which, and which can feel like an orgasm when, kissed or caressed or whatever. So, yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Tell us, Nancy.
Yes.
About the health and wellness benefits of not only just orgasms, but maybe like what happens when you mature your orgasm.
Well, there's a lot of experiences or health benefits as a result of the experiences. I mean, for sure, one of the biggest benefits is that I'm aware of is just the overall intimacy and connection with your partner that creates this tremendous amount of stress relief. It creates, it relieves pressure or headaches or any of those things. I know orgasms assist me with cramps or even during my period. Awesome. So aside from menstrual cramps or having, sex while on my period, which again, definitely is very relieving, orgasms release oxytocin, which, all of those pleasure hormones are released. Serotonin, endorphins, all of that stuff is like, and it just releases these amazing pleasurable chemicals, which, I know for menopause, nitric acid is very important to assist the woman with all of the symptoms of all the stages of menopause. So it's super important in terms of health and wellness.
Nice.
Did you want to add anything to that?
I know that, let's see here, stress relief, I think. Did you mention stress relief? And then reduces menstrual and relieves headaches. Relieves headaches. So what's great about that is that if you even have an inkling of a headache, I know how to take care of it. For sure.
That's true, you do.
And those watching the video, there's a pressure point right here too. So that in conjunction with some sexual intimacy will definitely take care of a headache. Awesome.
Tangent.
Slight tangent. Yep, there you go.
I do think it's important to keep in mind as we're talking about our sexual health that we have very strong and powerful habits around our sexual health that contribute to the sexual health.
For sure.
Like exercising regularly. And, this has been a lifestyle for a very long time. So if you're interested in increasing your sexual health, then, definitely do your research, read books, watch videos, get a sexual healing coach, like all of those things. Like if you're on the beginner road to educating yourself and re-scripting some of these beliefs around sexuality, we're happy to have conversations and share with you like exact experiences and more experiences and just all of the different books that we started our journey with and continue to rep with. I mean, again, can you hold up that book right there, Bill?
Okay.
So it's the Tao of Health, Sex, and Longevity. I mean, it's on our table right beside where we podcast because we reference this a lot. And yeah, so, definitely incorporating a lot of reading and meditating. But, like I said, we exercise regularly, all different forms of exercise is very important. So it's yoga, it's strength training, it's cardio, it's stretching for, beyond yoga, it's stretching for 30 minutes while we're watching TV or, there's a number of different things that we utilize with the actual exercise. We get massages regularly.
Yeah, I mean, and beyond that, I mean, we time block. as an exercise, we time block for intimate time.
Yes,
so we know that we can count on each other to show up for that intimate time. Whether we're wherever we are in our emotions. It's on the calendar.
Yeah, it's a scheduled time block. It's just like lead generating or doing our CMAs.
So, and it may feel a little weird if you time block for intimacy, yet at the end of the day, if you have time blocked out every Thursday at 3 p.m., emotionally, you're going to probably be more into it than not after you give it some time to settle in, because you'll be like, your body, you'll be like, oh, it's 2:30. Oh,
Absolutely.
We're getting closer.
Absolutely. Well, and the other thing is that it's the commitment.
Well, it's something you can count on, right?
Yes, it's something you can count on. I can trust that regardless, again, of the emotions, which you mentioned, that I'm going to be there, my partner's going to be there, and we're going to create this space is dedicated to whatever intimacy that we want to share, whether it's cuddling, watching a movie, taking a nap, couples meditation, lovemaking, fellatio, like whatever is in that sexual space, like I can count on that being there. It's an immovable object.
Yeah.
And, and of course, if something comes up, then it's a proactive conversation like, hey, I see that this is coming up, or I can see that this is going to bump up against our time. Are you open to moving that time? So it just creates the opportunity to have that intimate conversation and be flexible. So yeah, that sexy time is super important. It's also super important to laugh. Like creating habits around laughing and eating well. Like the food that you intox is very impactful on your overall health and definitely contributes to your vitality and your energy and your sexual stamina.
sure.
So look at that. Coffee, alcohol, processed foods, high sugars, they all inhibit sexual activity. Clearly, any kind of like prescription drugs or any of those things. So drinking lots of water, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables, healthy, clean proteins, and just take a look at it. Just be curious about it. So
Yes.
It's awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Nice. So what are some action items for these guys that are listening and watching?
Yeah. Well, how we started off, it's journaling. I mean, it's that whole journaling, meditative, being curious about this conversation.
What would it look like if I were to do some deep breathing incorporated into my masturbation process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a great one.
Journal on that and think about what the possibility could create. And then try it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Be intentional.
Yeah, there's lots of books out there about sexual reflexology to where you actually get into the practice of learning about your body and understanding your own personal pleasure zones and understanding what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and then incorporating that into your personal routine. I mean, that is a part of self-care. Masturbation is a huge part of self-care, and it's gotten such a bad rap for so long. And conversations like this really do unravel and rescript the dogma around all of that conversation. So it's very important to rediscover your own orgasm and your own anatomy and your own pleasure zones.
Yeah.
So definitely.
I like this little quote you have right here. The power is at your fingertips.
So true. It's so
like
true.
magic
I mean,
fingers.
it's like,
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. It's like however you want to experience the touch, whether it's light or soft or hard or slightly pinchy or, a little scratchy. I mean, all of those things are right here in your fingertips. So it's fascinating.
Yep.
It's really fascinating.
Journal, meditate, masturbate. I think those are the
And
three
create.
steps. And create.
Yeah, utilizing the power that energy is, and just utilize it to tap into all things and your creative genius and your businesses and your music and your relationships and your art and your fashion and
include money in there too.
And your money, for sure. Absolutely. And the happiness and the totality of it all. I mean, we're about the totality of it all. So, just tune into those things. And I would love to hear your experience around this conversation. Again, this is grown folk conversation. So I want to hear it.
Yeah. And so that being said, be brave with your communication with yourself and be brave with your communication with your partner or your partners, and work with yourself and work with them. And, you could get carried by them because their maturity may be higher. You may have the opportunity to help carry them and usher them into, a different level of expression.
Yeah.
So
it's a great point.
It's all beautiful. So, again, you can reach out to Nancy and I at Sex Money Real Estate, either on Instagram or at Gmail, and other resources. The Tao of Health, Sex, and Longevity is amazing. If you're, even if it's like, there are some great people on YouTube that, talk about all of this and have been in practices for years. So look those up and check out a few videos and see who resonates with you. Because one of them, if you're exploring and some of this conversation resonates with you, then I guarantee you're going to find somebody on YouTube that you identify with as well, and can usher in some of these practices for yourself as well. So
absolutely.
Cool. Well, that's what I got, baby.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing about your orgasm.
You're welcome.
And you sharing your orgasm
yes,
with me.
Of course. All the time. Cool. Well, we'll see you all on the flip side. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
And make it a great week. Love
Bye.
goes out. Peace.
Wow, what a show. Thank you so much for listening. If you're inspired, we ask that you share the podcast with one person and subscribe and follow our show. I'm Nancy Jameson.
And I'm Bill Jameson.
And remember, it's a great life.
Woo!
Quick note about the Sex, Money, and Real Estate podcast. We are not doctors or licensed therapists. We are a joyous, abundant, and mature couple passionately sharing our story of growth around sex, money, and real estate. Our thoughts, opinions, and beliefs are our own, so please consult your doctor, healthcare provider, or your broker regarding any questions or issues you have related to your physical or mental health or specific state laws regarding your real estate business.